Now, I want to talk about, there's a cartoonist who did the thing Dilbert. Now, let's be honest, most people in Australia will have to Google what that is, but if you remember, like 20 years ago, it kind of popped up and went away. He decided to back in Trump, went MAGA, which means there was a target on his back from day one. He's eventually said something too stupid that now means he ends up losing it all. But a good point worth pointing out here is what happens if you flip the races, Megyn?
Yeah, exactly right. So his name is Scott Adams. He wrote Dilbert, which is very, very popular over here. Not quite as popular as like Charles Schultz and Peanuts, but in that league. And he's basically canceled himself. All the newspapers have fired him. His distributor fired him. And he had to know it was going to happen. He's a very smart guy. And the reason it happened was he went out there after seeing a poll that showed something like 48 or 47% of Black people polled were not willing to sign on to the idea that being white is okay, well, that whiteness is okay.
Wow. Some
28% of Blacks said, I definitely don't agree with that. And some 21% said, I don't know. So he went out there and said, what on earth is this? Why is that? How can we be okay with that? And why aren't more people talking about it? Okay, that would have been fine. But then he took it another step further and said, I used to identify as Black because I wanted to be part of the winning team. Well, now I realize I've inadvertently joined a hate group. And what I'm going to tell everybody is I'm leaving this hate group, and I advise all white people to get the blank away from Black people. Don't live in their neighborhoods, don't associate with them, and on it went.
If nearly half of all Blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. Best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from Black people.
I mean, it's clearly a racist. Those statements were racist, and I think Scott Adams must know that because he's truly he's a brilliant man. So understandably and predictably, he got canceled. But these same outlets, Paul, which now for the past 48 hours have been freaking out about Scott Adams and what he said. I mean, zero over the stuff that happens on MSNBC every night in America. Every night. Just turn on Joy Reid. Try it for 15 minutes. See if you can avoid a hateful statement about whites. Let me know.
Absolutely. It's kind of their business model now. Now, also speaking of, tell us about another example about somebody completely lying about what their heritage is.
This is my favorite story of the week. Thank you. Thank you for letting me talk about her.
Here to help.
Okay, so she used to be known, maybe your viewers know the name Rachel Dolezal, white woman back in 2015, outed as having been running a chapter of the NAACP, which is a Black group, even though she was white, but she was faking it. She was faking her Blackness.
Awkward.
Anyway, she was outed. Okay, meet Rachel Dolezal 2. She was Rachel Elizabeth Seidel, but she went more recently as Raquel Saraswati. Now, Rachel Elizabeth is white as the day is long. I mean, she's as white as I am, right? And but Raquel Saraswati was allegedly gay, Muslim, Latina, of South Asian and Arab descent, absolutely none of which is true. She might be gay. That's it. That's it. All the rest is a lie. Her parents have come out, her mother has come out to say, I don't know why she's been doing this. It isn't true. And her bronzer is getting darker year after year. And like all great race fakers, she wound up becoming the head of the diversity, equity, and inclusion group for some Philadelphia-based Quaker group called the American Friends Service Committee, which is horrified that they have some race faker as their top DEI. It's so delicious. This is like the predictable end result of the race essentialism. If you're going to racialize everything, if you're going to do this divisive talk about the races and subjugate the whites to everybody else, of course, more and more whites are going to start to say, I'm out. It's like the new trans thing. You know what? Women get Me Too'd and they apparently don't get paid the same. And, I'm out. I'm a man now. That's what this is.
Yeah. Now, speaking, of course, of a true hero when it comes to minorities, a true hero when it comes to the downtrodden, none other than Meghan Markle. And we learn that, yet another reason why she's suffering is that the bloke that she married wasn't as rich as she thought.
wasn't rich at all. It's actually quite delicious. It's very clear. And this is from Tom Bauer, who's reporting, in my experience, you can take to the bank. He wrote the book Revenge about her, and it's got great stuff in there. And it's not all bad for her. It's not like he's got it in for Meghan Markle. Like, there are some nice stories about her in there too, but he's got great sources, and he's very well known and respected in Great Britain. And he is reporting that Meghan was very disappointed to realize he doesn't have money. He's a prince who's a pauper. Unless I get the dad or maybe the brother, I'm going to wind up with no dough. I chose the poor one. Crap. So he's got fame, and he gave her that for sure. She's now a household name when she wasn't, just when she was doing Deal or No Deal or the Suits show. But he doesn't have any money. And now that it all makes sense, how she's pimped him out to write the memoir, how, maybe she didn't like how the PR tour went, but she needed that money. He got a $20 million advance on Spare, or as South Park calls it, wah. And she's crying all the way to the bank now because they got that. They got the $100 million Netflix deal. They got a $50 million Spotify deal. But you mark my words, Paul, she's going to blow through that in about 2 years in Montecito, which is one of the most expensive communities in America. That's still not enough dough to be riding private all the time, which they want to do while they lecture us about, driving an SUV or having our thermometer at 72 degrees. And she's going to try to trade up. It's going to be 5 years or under, I think, is the over-under on that relationship. And she's going to trade up for some American hedge funder, billionaire, what have you, who can keep her in the true manner to which she would like to become accustomed.